To this story now, President Cyril Ramaphosa has appointed a team of special envoys to deliver messages of solidarity across Africa. They will meet with heads of state and government officials across Africa to discuss steps taken by South Africa to stop the attacks on foreign nationals. Well, last week, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced he would not be attending the UN General Assembly in order to deal with the domestic issues. Well, for more on this, I'm joined by the President's spokesperson, Khusela Diko. Ms. Diko, thank you very much for your time. Let's start with the special envoys that are being sent across Africa. Why the need to do that? Are we in panic?
It's definitely not panic. We believe that it is correct that South Africa goes out onto the rest of the African continent to set the record straight. Firstly, in terms of what would have transpired over the last few weeks in South Africa, you will know that there was a lot of misinformation, a lot of paranoia, a panic that was created on the continent, an impression created that South Africans were targeting Nigerians in particular, foreign nationals in general. So we want to contextualize that. We want to also explain and perhaps reaffirm that South Africa knows that our fortunes are intertwined with the rest of the African continent, and therefore we remain committed to solidarity.
Is there fear to be ostracized then by fellow African states?
It's not a fear. It's not a fear, but we need to be able to ensure that at all times we are able to strengthen and renew our bonds of friendship, extend an olive branch, a peace branch, to say that South Africans are not xenophobic. And we need to be able to explain these socio-economic challenges that we've been facing in this country that would have led to the backlashes that we've seen. We need to also explain that as much as all of this has been going on, the people who have borne the biggest brunt of it are actually South African nationals. Of the 12 people who died, 10 of them were from this country.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because the President emphasized in the point at the weekend that foreign nationals have got to abide by the rules and laws of the country. And that brings me to my next point. Out of an estimated 600 Nigerian nationals who wanted to go home, only 178 of them could actually travel back home because they had proper travel documents. Who is at fault here?
You see, those are the issues that we need to be able to engage with our sister countries on the continent. I mean, there are a lot of foreign nationals who live in South Africa who contribute positively to the development of this country, who are skilled and who are able to share those skills in our schools, in our hospitals and other places. But similarly, there's a lot of other foreign nationals who are here illegally. And as the special envoys go around the continent, those are the issues that they will be raising with these countries to say, how do we manage migration? I mean, we must understand that migration is a phenomenon throughout the world, but we need to ensure that we're able to tighten our systems, both as the receiving country as well as the country that those people would be coming from. But we also need to look at how do we advance really this integration, economic integration that we're talking about, the movement of people and goods as our forebears in the African Union, Organization of African Unity would have wanted to see. Because it's only when Africa is able to prosper and develop that we'll be able to deal with these both locally and in other African countries.
Ms. Diko, the President taking the dramatic step of cancelling his trip to the UN, instead sending his international relations minister. You know, someone described this platform to me the other day as a global boardroom, and that's where world leaders meet to discuss, and we know that the President is on this drive to attract investment into the country. Now, the excuse forwarded to the UN for why he could not make it there, what does that say about image or brand South Africa? Is it in tatters?
It's not indeed, and heads of state throughout the globe, they understand the need for the President to concentrate on domestic issues. Our country has gone through a very difficult time over the last few weeks, whether it is on the issues of women who refuse to be silenced any longer, who are wanting this government led by President Cyril Ramaphosa to take urgent measures to deal with femicide as well as gender-based violence. Our economy is in a bit of a difficult space as well, and the President needs to ensure that he's able to be here to oversee the implementations of reforms, the acceleration of the implementation of those reforms which are sought to turn our economy around. So as far as the UN General Assembly is concerned, South Africa will continue to be ably represented by the delegation led by Minister Pandor, and the President continues to engage with his counterparts on various other fora.
Let me take this opportunity then to raise the issue that the President was criticized about on Friday as he visited the home of Jabu Baloyi, the taxi driver who died allegedly at the hands of a drug dealer. The President says it is because of the party that leads you here in Tshwane, which is governing, and next time you should vote better. Surely that was in bad taste, having visited the home of a family that has lost its loved one to the very scourge of drug abuse.
Maybe let me start off by saying that, the visit to Jabu Baloyi and I think to many other families over the last couple of weeks that the President has undertaken has actually been very difficult. South Africans are pained. The scourge of crime in our country is a very serious one that we need to all be able to deal with. And it doesn't matter against whom it's perpetrated, whether you're South African or a foreign national, and it doesn't matter who perpetrates it. And those issues we must be able to deal with. Now, when the President speaks about the party that he's voted. He was in Tshwane. He was obviously speaking about the need to ensure that we all work together. You'll know that
he was campaigning.
I don't think he was campaigning. I think he was raising issues which say that you have a particular government and you need to hold that government to account. In Tshwane, there's the issue of the enforcement of bylaws, whether it's in the streets of Tshwane or in the townships of Soshanguve, like where we were. And he was saying that in future, it's also incumbent upon the communities to put their trust in people who are able to deliver on their aspirations.